Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this latest stream. I hope everybody is doing well. Morning Postmatic. We are streaming on X as well. I decided to renew my subscription to Restream, which allows me to stream to 3 platforms. So yeah, voice isn't 100% today, so I don't know how much we're going to be able to do, but it is what it is. It's definitely in a place that I don't know. It's not just rough; it's a bit sore. So I normally ease up when that happens. Good morning, Samantha. Hope you're doing well. Excuse me. All right. I am streaming on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube, but I have no idea how I... Oh, there we go. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Twitter. Dish. Twitch. Dish. Why did I need to sound so similar? Who knows? I'm going to pin the message. There we go. There's a link to the Twitch and the Twitter. Alrighty. I think that's it. Is my restreaming properly? Oh no, momento. Okay, there we go. So there is Twitter. Good morning, Joseph. So all the chats are integrated. Awesome. Good morning, Kandaria. Hope you're doing well. Just closing some random windows. Now I need to figure out my recording schedule, because the more I talk, the more I realized how not good my voice is today. So, at a bare minimum, we've got Billy Bob for tonight. We have a T-Foss for tonight, and one for tomorrow night. We have a re-T-Foss for tomorrow morning. We have series. So, in theory, I don't have to record anything today. In theory. But if I don't record anything today, then I need to do that tomorrow. Okay. Which is Thursday? What is today? Today is Wednesday. So Thursday would be that. If I don't record anything today. And then Friday will be something along these lines. Colors. Let's use colors. Oops, that is definitely the wrong button. So if we record this, and this tomorrow plus that, then Wednesday we can do that. I think that works. Wednesday will be that. Wednesday, Thursday. Excuse me. Good morning, Adderworks. Hope you're doing well. So that is Thursday, that is Friday, and that is actually a problem. Anthony, good morning. Tomorrow, right. That is Thursday. That is Friday. And then that is Saturday. So if I do 7,000 words today, it means I can do this and take a Saturday off. I think. We can do that and that. Just 6,000 words. We'll do these today. Yeah, orange. Orange today. Then this tomorrow. Something like that. Tomorrow. So where does that put us tomorrow? 13,000 words. Then Friday, we're at 17,000 words. That's a bit much. No, Friday. Yes, Friday is in 17,000 words, which is definitely a bit too much. What we can do, swap these two around. Oh. Like such. And like such. So, today, 7,000 words. Tomorrow, 15,000 words. Oh, that's the wrong color. $15,000 words, which leaves us with Friday. Friday would look something like that. Yeah. And then Sunday, we're hopefully feeling better and we can start doing some more stuff. Okay. I think that's going to be the plan. So we've got today, tomorrow, Friday, and then Sunday. Give my voice a day to recover. I'm doing as well as can be, Kandaria. Voice is a bit sticky today. So, not the bestest. But it is something. Right. I think that works. So today is going to be a short stream. Like I said, my voice isn't doing too great. But record we must. The algorithm demands it. No rest. Always have to serve the algorithm overlords. But for next week, we should have some more time because we're not going to immediately replace Billy Bob. So that gives us an extra bit of time to record ahead again. And then we can find another spot, something to fill this void. Hopefully, that's between 10 and 20 minutes. That's the ideal. Okay. There's the correct thing of nature of predators. And then Royal Road. I have a message on Royal Road. Okay, never mind. Alrighty. Okay, so I'm gonna head into recording. Is everything working? Everything is working. Alright. Greetings, ladies and melogers, and welcome to this latest narration of the web series The Nature of Predators. If you are new to the series, there is a playlist listed down below in the description, and as always, I hope that you enjoy. Chapter 15. Memory transcription, subject, Taylor Trench, human colonist. Date, standardized human time, March 20th, 2160. I woke up drenched in a cold sweat for the third night in a row. My fingers were clutching the blankets as if my life depended on it. My breathing was erratic, with my brain locking me into a fight-or-flight mode. I sank back against my pillow slowly, trying to collect myself. The thuds of my heartbeat punched my ribcage, a frantic pace that felt impossible for the blood-pumping organ. All I saw when I closed my eyes was sand raining atop my head, burying me. There are 37 chapters of Billy Bob. We are currently on chapter 33. The finale is 36 and 37 is the epilogue. Atop my head. Burying me. The screams of the other humans echoed in my ears tonight. The screams of the other humans echoed in my ears tonight, before I was teleported into the morgue. Gaber's corpse had been there, burned like the victims in the medical clinic, before his accusatory eyes turned towards me. In the waking world, I knew that horror wouldn't leave me. All of those people had died because of me. I should have read Gress better, since that was the very thing that I was trusted to do by the colony. How could I be furious at the consortium when it was our shiftiness that left them thinking that we were with the Federation? The blame belonged not on me. The blame belonged on my shoulders, or my decisions. Everywhere I looked around tennis, watching grieving friends or seeing miners without any work, I was reminded of the blood on my hands. They might as well have been stained red, proclaiming my sins to the entire community that I failed. My entire life I felt trapped underground, but it's never been on this level. If Gress is offering to take me away from here, it's time to get going. I have to get out of here. While I'd spent the past few days recuperating in my quarters, the Krev rent collector had been making the rounds of the colony. When I chatted with Charisse over a call, she described him as keen to get his claws on any information about humans. It might have been suicidal, but not long ago to mingle with the miners, but being the first aliens to tolerate our appearance won him some favor. Everyone had gotten wind of this story by now, and many humans had finally put ourselves in their shoes. Who wouldn't want to keep away from the Federation? It was a miracle, but we might have found the only sane species in the galaxy. That left me over more apprehensive news for the Jaslips. That left me more apprehensive for news of the Jaslips. While I was disconcerted about the idea of handling any kind of responsibility, there is one. Oh, there's a couple, actually. I'm trying to remember the name. But there have been several stories like that. Responsibility. On humanity's behalf, Gress was adamant that I represent the colony. I needed to come back on the horse. The thought of sightseeing tour to Avar did bring excitement to my chest. It had been a long time since I saw a proper city outside of a screen, and there were many outdoorsy activities I'd never experienced. Did I even deserve those experiences? I popped in my earbuds, opted to call Charisse as I packed my bag. Good morning, I'm back. Good morning, I'm back on my own 2 feet and ready to head out if you are. Do you know where I can find Gress? Not so fast, she replied. Did Dr. Abadeo clear you to leave? Well, she didn't explicitly say I couldn't. Genuinely, I'm fine. My injuries were minor, and a few days' rest has given me my strength back. Walking, talking, okay. Walking, talking, A-okay. It'll be exciting to head to Avar. Being a long time since I've been to space, you know. Taylor, I know for a fact that you are not ready. We all harbored a lot of pent-up anger after what the aliens have done, but you've always been a maestro at kissing up to their faces. You were never this irritable, set off on a dime at the expense of your own goals. My temper was a little short, and I'm sorry that I lost it with Gress. The drill accident was still fresh. I saw red when he just walked off. It was inexcusable, and I know I could affect us all. I'm beyond sorry. It won't happen again. I can't say part of me didn't like it when you clubbed him over the head. Hathaway's chewed me out enough. I'm saying this because I'm worried about you, and I want you to know that it's okay to sit this one out. You went through a traumatic experience, almost dying, and it hasn't been a week. And it hasn't even been a week. You could have a form of PTSD. A lot of cases, it goes away with enough time, but I'm sure Grace would understand. You're unfit to travel. I raised my eyebrows in disbelief. Stop psychoanalyzing me. You're not a fucking doctor besides. Even if you were right, you really want to go crying mental issues to an alien so that he can assume that I have predator disease? There is no reason to think that Grace believes in predator disease. He thinks the Federations are nutcases, just like we do. These guys might actually know a thing or two about head trauma. If we wanted to snap you with that kind of... If we wanted to snap you with that kind of label, I think he wouldn't have... I think he wouldn't have excused away our assault. I think he wouldn't have excused away your assault. Well, I appreciate the concern, but it's not needed. I can do this. I'm upset about what happened, but it's nothing I can't handle. If you don't want to go to Avar anymore, I understand. It is dangerous. Just don't try to stop me from making amends. Now you're going to tell me where Grace is or not. Silence came over the other end of the earbuds as I zipped up my makeshift travel bag. I guess. I imagine Grace is at the bar with the miners. He got very shit-faced the first night you were sidelined and tried to pet and hug everyone. Hasn't drank since, but still, he's there a bunch. I'll send a message to Hathaway and we'll meet you there. Good morning, Janes. Hope you're doing well. You don't want to wait for us on the ship? You don't want to go wait with us? You don't want to go wait for us on the ship? There is no chance in hell. There is not a chance in hell I'm leaving you alone with an alien, especially since the time we got some answers about these jaslips and however the Krev stopped the Federation from finding them. Crap. I'll drink to that. We might not like Grace's little story, I think. See you soon. I slung my bag over my shoulder, fantasizing to myself that I was a human on Earth heading off to a beach resort in the Caribbean. We didn't exactly have summer holidays or any sort of reprieve all the way down here. I skimmed my pack list one last time, making sure I hadn't forgotten any essentials that the Krev might not have. I'd squirreled away some snack bars, just in case their ideas of primate diets were the dried insects they fed their oboes. Pea-brained Jovre might have no standards. Pea-brained Jovra might have no standards for what he'd put in his mouth, but I was sapient. As much as I was itching to set off, I'd boil my blood to travel with that crazed demon. It had boiled my blood to travel with that crazed demon. Grace tried to tell me that Jura was afraid of me, but that Oba knew what it was doing. Goes and perches, nice and innocent, on the Krev's shoulder afterwards. Charisse thinks I'm irritable now. I'm going to get that stupid monkey back. I sped up my strides as I entered the main cavern, casting my gaze to the elevator. With no reason to control traffic in and out of the colony, the gates and the security restrictions had been lifted. From what I had been told in earlier calls, Grace had relayed that we were primate refugees of war, rather than Federation oppressors. The Consortium signed off on our visit to Avar, which I suppose was an optimistic sign that they might help. I hadn't even thought of what to ask for, but it would be wonderful if they could build a proper, above-ground home for us. It was bizarre to encounter aliens that had any semblance of charity or curiosity towards us. Smiling bitterly to myself, I propelled my feet onwards into the bar. Given our circumstances, liquor was never out of the fashion on Tellus. Drunken escapades were one way to cope with your homeworld being eradicated, and living 2 decades in an underground burrow Just as Charisse had predicted, the green scales of the rent collector were visible atop a stool. A muscular miner sat across from Gress, waving a pint of beer in a jolly fashion. The Krev was nonplussed by the human dwarfing his own figure, or the impressive guns that constituted his biceps. Several humans appeared to be eavesdropping on the conversation. "So the real reason the payments weren't ready was a strike?" Gress echoed. "I don't blame you. We wanted to be unfavorable." I don't blame you. We wanted it to be unfavorable so you'd settle elsewhere. I'm going to ask for the consortium to repay the materials shipment and make it right. You don't need to toil on behalf. You don't need to toil on our behalf ever again, sweet darlings. I wish I could tear those Federation feckers a new one." The human chugged the last of his beer. "You and me both, except for the Vannies. Sure, they have piss dribbling down their fur, but the bloody sight of us... They'd have piss dribbling down their fur at the sight of us, but they tried to prevent us to, stop what happened to Earth. They're probably dead now, too, because of it. I'm sorry, Dale. Really, I am. I saw what you put yourselves through trying to be their friends. However pitiful those Vendel acted, they're probably the reason you made it here at all. The exchange program idea was adorable. Except that we had to censor everything about our culture. I spoke. Except we had to censor everything about our culture. I spoke from behind Grass. We picked a lot of tree huggers to talk to the Vendel, and that's the only reason they helped us. Taylor, it's good to see you. I was getting worried. I only have 2 days to get home before Lekker's performance. Maybe I could even take you if you want. Please, grab a seat. I'm good, thanks. I came here to let you know I'm ready to travel to Avar. As am I, Charisse's voice said from next to me. Taylor and the Vendel... Taylor, the Vendel died for us, whatever the exchange program's faults were. Some of those Xenos called humans friends, short-lived as that was. Nobody else cared. We care. We care. My point was... Who is talking? Not good, James. Not good. We care. My point was, I've been thinking about an exchange program between the Krev and humans. Voluntary, of course, but our morale's been drained, just like yours. We'd love to get to know you. Fostering a new friendship could be a wonderful thing for us all. Major Hathaway strolled up to the table. I'm sure that we could drum up some interest. Humanity, has been in dire need of friends for far too long. Dale finished his pint standing up. You're not half bad, Scales. I'll leave you all to it. But count me in if you start an exchange program. Cheers, mate. I waited as the miner ducked away, mulling over what seemed to be Gress's latest idea. Cultural exposure wasn't a bad idea, but how could humans ever bear our souls before aliens again? The idea of the Krev being our friends was appealing in practice, yet there was so much baggage from our prior exchange program. However, much more fortitude the scaly mammals had than the Federation. However much more fortitude the scaly mammals had than the Federation, it'd be in the back of our minds about putting one foot wrong. Beyond that, I didn't know how to deal with the fact that we resembled their pets. In that case, the shoe was on the other foot, compared to how the Vendel exchange had fared. I have an idea for how to start the exchange program, I murmured. Jaslips. Spill the beans. If you want to do it in privacy of the ship, fine. But I want the damn truth. It's not easy to trust you. Gress drummed his claws on the table. Exchange program? Officializing it just like that. Does that mean that we're... Does that mean that we're partners, Taylor? You'd want to be. As a matter of fact, I was going to request to be paired with you if you joined. I see. I wasn't sure why the feck Gress wanted anything to do with me, but he wasn't nearly as punchable as I thought he was. Before the mask reveal, there was a lot more warmth and affability from the Krev father than I anticipated. Feck it, why not? But your Jaslip story better not make us all hate your guts. It wasn't my decision. It happened before I was born. I don't hate you for things humans did before you were born. But you said it was the right decision. You agree with the Gress? Perhaps we should take this elsewhere? Perhaps we should take this elsewhere, Hathaway prompted. The Krev raised a pause. Don't worry, I don't mind if others overhear. If you've ever to trust us, Taylor's right. You need to hear our full history. So I'll try to give you the rundown. So the Consortium was born 100 years ago, made of our spacefaring allies. It was born, because we found the Federation. Grest tapped a small projection device, casting a 3D presentation of the white-furred quadruped. There was a number of things that stood out, beyond the triangular ears and bushy coat. These beings had forward-facing eyes. If these were the Jaslips, there were other sapiens with binocular vision, not just us and the Arxor. I began to get a picture about why the Krev guest mentioned that these people needed to be hidden at all. Their diet likely wasn't adjacent to the Federation specifications. On Earth, these creatures had the form of something that hunted. My eyes did zero in on the trait that was truly alien. The Jaslip's tail seemed to split into 3 fluffy fronds at its base. Multiple tails, that's a new one. I won't disrupt his story, but I sure hope he gets to what the hell that's about. These are the Jaslips. I imagine the image is insightful. Will you and I find it noteworthy that they have split tails, meant for carrying their pups like a basket? The Federation would be more interested in their eyes. In fact, in the fact they're carnivorous, Gress explained. Hathaway tilted his head. Like the Arxor. Nothing like those psychopaths. Good luck convincing the Federation of that, though. The Krev Consortium saw the threat posed to any species. Their mindset touched. Posed. The Krev Consortium saw the threat posed to any species that... The Krev Consortium saw the threat posed to any species. The Krev Consortium saw the threat posed to any species their mindset touched, and you know that it is our job to stop them from finding us, to at least buy a few generations of time. It was obvious the Jaslips were under the greatest threat of extermination of all of our allies. Because they're predators, I hissed. Well, yes, but it was beyond that. Avor is 7 days' travel from Sivkit space, the edge of Federation territory. We have hundreds of light years between us and them. The Jaslips weren't just suspect to them at a glance. They also were the closest to any Consortium space. A day travel from Sivkit space. We saw it as a matter of time before they were found. An eventuality. Charisse narrowed her eyes. The Federation didn't find any other predators. What do you mean by stopping them, Gress? Please, dear God, don't tell me you didn't... Please. Please, dear God, don't tell me you didn't kill them. Please, dear God, tell me you didn't kill them, I groaned. Wouldn't make me feel rosy about whether we'd be sacrificed. Wouldn't make me feel rosy about whether we'd be sacrificed for the greater good. The Krev looked offended. Our job is to protect people from the Federation, not to finish their work. We could never wipe out an entire race. That's part of why we spared you, beyond fears of starting a war. We simply coordinated with the Jaslip government to move their population off-world. You see, their homeworld, Esquire, was absolutely frigid. We could offer them settlements on Avor poles, as well as other Consortium worlds. The Jaslips agreed with our plan, offloaded civilians, billions of them. The Great Relocation was a process we spent 30 years on. That can't be all you meant by a necessary evil. Getting them out to dodge from the Federation. That was the right thing to do. Of course it was, Taylor.
The controversy of it all was the fact that there were Jaslips who refused to abandon Esqua during the mandatory evacuation. Our plan was to make it look as though the planet had died via nuclear war, to wipe it all. To wipe it of all traces of life, so they wouldn't come looking. The Jaslip government wouldn't sign off while there were still civilians on world. The Reskits sent soldiers in on our behalf to round up the Jaslip stragglers. Got some of them, but the others fought back. It was a damn clusterfuck. Sharice's eyes darted back and forth, arriving at the same conclusion as me. You tried to forcibly relocate the Jaslips and failed, but I get the distinct impression that didn't stop you. It didn't. You have to understand, it wasn't just them. The Jaslips could have led them straight to all of us. Every year that Esquo stayed inhabited, it was a risk of being found. You humans saw the consequences of being discovered. Hindsight is easy to know the Federation wouldn't have expanded. Tell me, if you could have left Earth and stopped them from finding humanity, would you have made any sacrifice? I would, Hathaway replied, in a measured voice. Knowing what happened to our true home, I was willing to make any sacrifice to avoid getting into a war with the Krev. You know what it's like? You know what it's like to have that fate of your entire species at the back of your mind. That's not an easy burden, and I doubt it was an easy decision. The Krev just couldn't wait any longer. Time was up. We made the decision to pull the trigger, so the buffer between us and the Federation would be established. A pit formed in my stomach, thinking about yet another homeworld lost to smithereens. If you tried to evacuate all the civilians off-world, and the majority agreed with your plan, I understand choosing the Consortium survival. It's a crappy situation. I do wonder how the Jaslips reacted. Not well. They're still bitter over what we did, and it was 30 years ago, a little before your arrival. The true controversy, the Jaslips hibernate during winter, when the temperatures drop to a certain point. Their farms can't operate under such extreme conditions. We waited until their government on Avor was in hibernation, during its brief overlap with Esquo's hibernation season. We bombed their world into oblivion only then, while they weren't there to protest or resist. The Jaslips woke up to find the planet gone, and everyone who remained on it dead. I swallowed, feeling my throat run dry. Forcibly ripping people from their homes was Forcibly ripping people from their homes was reprehensible enough, regardless of whether the Jaslip government had gone along with it. The ethics were dubious, though I could understand the Federation's threat taking precedence. The story had taken a further decline, with the Krev failing to remove the remnants and deciding to bury Esqua like the Crocodile did to Earth, with people still on it. The brute calculation of Consortium was something that I could understand. Billions of lives and multiple civilizations against a few holdouts. Letting the Federation find the Jaslips wasn't an option. Gress's people were trying to prevent a tragedy on the scale of our own. If that was what it had taken to save humanity, I would have done it in a heartbeat. It's the cowardice, the scumminess of that move that leaves a sour taste in my mouth. I threw up my hands in disbelief. You waited until the Jaslips were all asleep and powerless to glass their planet without their permission. Am I getting this straight? You are, Taylor. It was a crappy thing to do, I know. I feel sorry for them, but the Jaslips have set up new lives in the poles of other worlds, Gress answered in a despondent voice. Maybe their species still exists because of our choice. Maybe we could have given them a few more years to evacuate. Maybe we didn't have to do it all. Maybe we didn't have to do it at all. I believe it was a necessary evil, but I agree, it was evil. Deaths have never been our aim.
But you would sacrifice us to save the Consortium side. Are you worried about the risk of Federation finding us?
I'm worried about the risk of the Federation finding any of us. You have my word that the Crab will protect you, whatever comes knocking. All we ask is that you help us ensure our collective safety, and that you can forgive the blood on our claws. Please.
Mayor Hathaway giving me a look that says to play nice. We need the Crab's help, and whatever I think about their handling of the Jaslip crap,
it was 30 years ago. It's better, well, it's better that we know. I forced a smile. Let's head for Avon, Grass. I couldn't have been easy to admit your species' lowest moments, but I appreciate the trust. I suppose I should return the favor a little. You can tell us about other species on the You can tell us about the other species on the way over. We wouldn't want to risk missing your daughter's recital.
Oh, it's only 2 hours to Avon. That's why we had to have our warships intercept you. You're too close, even with the signal dampening field.
Grass's eyes brightened, as if he'd thought of something.
Necker is going to love you. She has an Obor backpack, you know. Juvra's her Obor, much as mine. Juvra's her Obor as much as mine. I'll have to properly introduce you to Juvra on the ride over.
Goody, lucky me. Cherie snorted. Don't tell me you still hold a grudge against the Obor. No, it's not like I'm worried about getting my face taken off or anything. Grass raised a signal call. Blah, 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 blah. Grass raised a single claw.
Juvra will be on his best behavior, and so will you. Let's head to the ship, friends. To my amazement, I hope to be back here soon.
I arched my eyebrows, acknowledging my own shock as to how the visit had played out. We'd shown our faces to the Krev, who we believed here were here to exploit our misfortune, and found that we shared a common enemy in space. It was strange to think that It was strange to think that I'd wound up verbally committed to an alien exchange program, and that I'd been volunteered to represent all of humanity. This time, with the tangible choice of securing the tangible chance of securing a future in the stars. With any luck, my diplomacy would play out as a fairer audience than Noah Williams' pleas had. I also hoped that the Jaslips were the worst skeleton in the Krev's closet. Their history couldn't be. Their history couldn't all be Machiavellian. I shouldered my bag, loping after Grass, and bidding farewell to the only home that I could remember. End of story. End of chapter. I do apologize for not being in a particularly talkative mood today. Like I said, not feeling the greatest. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's narration of the web series The Human from a Dungeon. If you're new to the series, there is a playlist listed down below in the description. and as always, I hope that you enjoy. Chapter 55. Nick Smith, Adventurer Level 7, Human American. Algebron went around introducing everyone. Basinoth, King of Bloodfey, was the same. Algebron. Algebron went around introducing everyone. Basinoth, King of the Algebron went around introducing everyone. Basinoth, King of Bloodfey, wore the same armor as the Bloodfey that Algebron had summoned earlier, but was much taller and had a meaner-looking face. His chiseled jaw and low-set brow made it look as if he was permanently scowling. Horth, King of the Bonefey, had nearly identical facial features, but both his skin and armor were an off-putting pale yellow-white color. It took a second for me to realize that it was the same color as the sun-bleached bone, which makes sense since he's the king of Bone Fey, I guess. Mamoldebrand didn't look like I had expected at all. His chin was rounded and his brows were high, giving him an almost childlike face. The pudgy cheeks and belly enhanced this effect, but his eyes were as serious as a heart attack. He stood shorter than most of the Fae, only surpassing Tartar's height by an inch or two, but he somehow exuded a commanding presence. I wondered how Algebron and Tartars were able to muster up the courage to piss him off. Mamolderan and Algebron were wearing the same outfit, pants and shirts that looked as if they were made of leaves, with intricate stitching that formed odd patterns that kind of hurt to look at. Tartar's outfit was similar, but her shirt was cut low enough that I realized she didn't have a navel. I also noticed that the patterns on her clothes forced my eyes towards her substantial cleavage. I sighed internally as I endeavored to look away from her as much as possible. Ylf, King of the Flower Fairies, looked exactly as I imagined a flower fairy would look. He stood at about 8 inches tall, and his facial features were soft and kind. His most striking attribute was his wings, which were every color that I could think of, in a pattern that reminded me of my mom's flower garden. He was wearing what could only be described as an onesie made of flowers, and when Algebron introduced him, he held out a hand to me.
Fair enough, Shadow, fair enough. Gotta just do enough to get through, and then hopefully heal. I'm sure I'll be fine.
And to me. "What are you doing?" Horth asked. "Mortals like to touch things, and one of their favorite greetings is a handshake," Ylf explained. I gently took his hand, and was shocked at how cold it was. Then I was surprised by strength of his grip and shake. He shook for nearly 40 seconds before Algebron interceded. "I'm very certain that's too long for a handshake, Ylf," he said. "Really?" Ylf asked. "It's a very pleasant sensation, though. Such a warm hand, with a nice and firm grip as well. I could shake it all day. We do have other matters to attend."
We do have other matters to attend to,
Mamolderan sighed, rubbing his forehead. "Oh yes, my apologies." Ylf released my hand and smiled at me. I nervously returned his smile, and then realized that I'd been internally referring to these creatures as male and female. With Tartars and the other Fae, it was an easy mistake to make. They were practically caricatures of their displayed genders. Ylf, though, was much more androgynous, and this had me realize my mistake. And this had made me realize my mistake. A few of my friends back home struggled to define themselves with gender, and would probably do much better than I in this situation. Some of my other friends would do much worse, though. Before I could start wondering how all of them were doing, I refocused on the situation at hand, and endeavored to avoid referring to the fair folk using gendered pronouns at all cost.
Now that we are acquainted, let's get started,
Aldebaran said, gesturing to the chairs and tables. The seating rearranged to form a semicircle facing seats with matching tables. Algernon looked at me and gestured to the center seat. I sat, and Yook took the seat to my left. Algernon sat next to Yook, and both Tartars and Nash tried to sit to my immediate right. No, Tartars winked at him and pointed at the other chair. You sit there. I'll sit here.
But,
Nash said, trailing off and looking at Algernon for help. Honestly, Algernon shook his head. Nash, you should let them take that spot. We should just be grateful that they're sitting in a chair and not on Nick's lap. Now that's an idea, Tartars said with a wide smile. No, I stated emphatically. Come on, Nick. Don't be like that. Uncross your arms and lean back so I can... Aldebaran slammed a fist on the table in front of him. Sit in the thrice-stamped chair. Now. Tartar shot the king of the Arkfey a venomous glare, but did as she was told. The two Arkfey held eyes for a few moments before Aldebaran turned his attention to me. Now then, Aldebaran started. Nicodemus Liam Smith, I understand you provided a name to both Algebron and Tartars, and immediately afterwards they were transformed into Arkfey. Tartars, and immediately afterwards they were transformed into Archfey. I also understand that you are attached. Please elaborate on your interaction with the being you spoke with in the void. Aldebaran, I feel that's unnecessary, Algebron interrupted. I've already told you all that you... I've already told you all about that interaction. Yes, Algebron. You saw his memories when your blood mingled. However, when viewing memories in such a way, the view was crystal clear. A perfected recollection, if you will. One's perspective of one's memories are often different from the memories themselves, though. One's perspective of one's memories are often different from the memories themselves, though. Nearly always, in fact. The higher ones are far trickier than even we. The higher ones are far trickier than even we, and it would be a simple matter for them to alter one's perception to grant different information than what actually occurred. Huh? Hoth and Basinoth asked simultaneously, then shared an angry glance with one another. Aldebaran sighed. To put it simply, with a little help from the higher one, Nick may have gleaned something from the memory that Algebron wouldn't have been able to. All eyes turned to me, and my mouth went dry. What if what I tell them is wrong? What if they aren't able to get the answers they need? I can practically feel how powerful they are. What will I do if they get mad at what I say? We were attacked by bandits, and I cast a healing on a friend of ours who was injured. I ended up using all of my magic and lost consciousness, I explained. It was dark, then it was bright, and I was suddenly naked. Then there was Cass, except she wasn't really Cass. Irrelevant details, Aldebaran interrupted. What did the higher ones say to you? I assume it told you to do something. Yes, it told me that I was about to go down the wrong path, and I needed to see King Yssenrath because some stupid Mer were about to do some stupid things, and also told me not to tell anyone. Great. Now that you've chastised him about irrelevant details, he left out some of the relevant ones, Yoff said, sticking its tongue out at Aldebaran. Nick, we'd like your interpretation of these events as they happened. Start from when you met the higher one. Okay. We were both nude, and I thought she was in disguise, but she, or it, I guess. It said that my brain was trying to make sense of where we were, and that it was interesting that I saw it as my girlfriend, I explained. He told me that my brothers and I wouldn't know what to do when we got to Balasar, and that we needed to see King Yssenrath, or it would take us years. And that we needed to see King Yssenrath, or it would take years for me to figure out how to get home, because some stupid Mer were about to do some stupid things. It also called Yulk cute. Not an inaccurate description, Yulk laughed. Not an inaccurate description. Not an inaccurate description, Yulk laughed. Go on. It said that it's rooting for me, and that the reason it didn't tell me exactly what I should do to get home is because of a pact. Then its appearance changed, and I could see bright Then its appearance changed, and I could see bright red chains binding it. I asked if I should tell anyone about it, and it said no, because it would lead to violence and bloodshed. I asked why it was approaching me. Then it explained that it really wanted to and threatened to throw a temper tantrum if it wasn't picked. That it really wanted to, and it would threaten to throw a temper tantrum if it wasn't picked. Then it told me to train, and I woke up. Yeah, that sounds like a higher one to me, Horse said bitterly. The details that the human remembers tell a story, Mamoldebrand said. Nick saw the higher being as someone close to it, which him, Yssenrath interrupted. Nick is a male. Oh, I really don't give a shit, Mamoldebrand snarled. When it came to speaking, one should do it right or not at all. When it comes to speaking, one should do it right or not at all, Archfey King, Basanoth said. Fine! He saw the higher beings as someone close to him. Saw the higher being as someone close to him. Are you happy? There you go, Yith grinned. Good job, keep it up. Mamoldebrand muttered something that sounded obscene before recomposing himself. Nick saw the higher being as someone close to him, he continued with an annoyed glance at Yith, which could indicate that the higher being is close to him. It could be acting as a protector or guide, the latter of which is somewhat more likely given the rest of the interaction. This higher being set Nick on a path that would lead to the awakening of the High Dragon, King of Elves, who happens to be one of our oldest allies. Then the higher one told him that telling anyone would lead to bloodshed. Once Mamoldebrand said bloodshed. All of the gathered fair folks' expressions dampened. Even Tartar's, who had been staring at the side of my face, turned to look at the king of the Archfey. You don't think, Basanoth trailed off. I do think, frequently in fact. It's fun. You should try it. Mamoldebrand grinned. Feck you. Maybe later. What's more concerning is that Nick clearly recalls the higher one saying that some stupid Mer will do some stupid things, and indicating that he needed to see King Yssenrath because of this. This was Nick's knee-jerk recollection when I pressured him earlier. I'm starting to dislike where this analysis is going, Holt said. It gets worse. We know how this higher one enjoys interacting with our world, and is currently under a pact, likely one of limited interaction, which means that the highest one is involved. Maybe even the highest one. May I ask some questions? I interrupted. Mamoldebrand gave me the same annoyed look that he gave Yith earlier, but nodded. What is the highest one, and why is bloodshed relevant? Beings that are far more powerful than higher ones, and had a hand in the creation of the universe. No. Beings that are far more powerful than the higher ones, and had a hand in creating the universe. Beings that are far more powerful than the higher ones, and had a hand in creation of the universe, Algernon explained. They do not interact with anything except for the higher ones, and mortals rarely even come to realization that they exist. Mortals call the higher ones gods, but the highest ones are better described as such. And the reason
And the reason that bloodshed is relevant is because fair folk don't bleed, Mamoldaran added. The Higher One you spoke to would have known of this hearing. It would have known that your options would... It would have known that your options would be to tell us the truth or try and avoid telling us anything, and subtly informed you of the consequences of either choice. We also have vague warning of stupid Mer doing stupid things. A previously incapacitated ally suddenly awakening by same one bearing... A previously incapacitated ally suddenly awakened by the same one bearing this warning. 2 mysteriously created Archfey, and a Higher One under a pact of limited interaction. Which means that all of the Higher Ones are likely under a similar pact, Yith said with a slight frown. I think we know where Algebron and Tartars came from. One of the Higher Ones promoted them, but couldn't tell us what they... But couldn't tell us that they did so. More importantly, we're going to be attacked soon. More importantly, we're going to be attacked soon, Horth grinned, and it must be a serious attack if it wouldn't lead to bloodshed with us left unharmed, warned. And it must be a serious attack if it wouldn't lead to bloodshed with us left unwarned. We get to add our collections. We get to add to our collections, Basanoth returned Horth's grin. Nick, Nash, Yuk, we are done here, and you may continue upon your journey, Mamoldaran said, while he rose from his seat. Oh, and thank you for your time. You now have permission to wander these lands with up to 3 companions each, unmolested by the Archfey and the Fey they oversee. And the Blood Fey, Basanoth said. And the Bone Fey, Horth said. Horth nodded. I can make no promises regarding any of the fairies, Yith shrugged and smiled. Thankfully, we're mostly a friendly sort. Wait, can't we help in some way? I asked. You already have, Algebron said. You have made a choice that has allowed us to prepare for the upcoming attack. Algebron is correct, Mamoldaran interjected. Plus, you have things to do, and we don't know when this attack is going to occur. It could be days from now or years from now. Such is the nature of the Higher Ones. Nash and York rose from their seats, and I followed suit. York put his hand on my shoulder and gave a small squeeze. I looked up at him, and he gave me a small smile. Let's go, he said. Don't worry, they'll be okay without us. Don't worry. Let's go. Let's go, Nick, he said. Don't worry, they'll be okay without us. We're the king of the Blood Faith fought our dad and didn't die, Nash grinned. They're plenty strong. I let out a small sigh, unable to shake the worry that something bad might happen to Algebron and Tartars. Then I looked around at the assembled fairfolk and realized that a fight alongside them would probably be out of my league anyway. I nodded slowly. Yeah, I said. He could like to use my help on his journey, and my aid would be more beneficial to him than it would be to deep wild forest. Thus, I haven't seduced him yet. The clearing went silent as everyone turned to look at Tartars in disbelief. A few seconds passed before Mamoldaran cleared his throat. You have no idea how much I'd like to say yes to that request, to be free of your annoyance for a time, the king of the Archfey said. However, I'm getting a very powerful urge to say no, and cannot pinpoint the source of said urge. A whisper, Tartar said sadly. I see. Well, sorry, Nick. Looks like I'm needed here. You can't go... You can't... And can't go with you after all. Huh? I managed to reply. Go now, lovely little object of my adoration, she whispered, stepping closer and putting her finger against my lips. Before I change my mind. The warmth of her finger barely registered in my mind as I started
as I stared deeply into her eyes and saw how serious she was. We stared there for a moment while I thought about what to do. A smile began to creep over her face. I could almost see her mind changing, which made up my mind about what to do. I turned and ran back the way we came as fast as I could. End of story. End of chapter.
Alrighty. Then it's going to be me for the day. Hopefully tomorrow my voice is better. But one never knows with these things. Must escape, yes. Run and never look back. Alrighty, thank you all for spending your time with me. It is very much appreciated. I hope you all have a fantastic day, night, morning, whatever it may be for you. And I'll be back same time, same place tomorrow.